Please note, the contents of this presentation are for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, financial, or business advice. You should consult with a professional who is familiar with your individual situation before making any major business decisions. It's 10 o'clock at night. You're staring at a spreadsheet, your eyes are burning, and you're manually inputting leads from an open house you held 6 hours ago. Your dinner is cold on the counter. Your phone has buzzed at least 50 times with emails that aren't urgent but feel like they are. You vaguely remember promising to help your kid with their homework, but that deadline passed hours ago, lost in a sea of follow-up calls and last-minute showing requests. You still haven't designed the just-listed postcard for that new property, you haven't updated your CRM, and you definitely haven't prepped for the big listing presentation you have tomorrow morning. You feel like you're running $1 million business with $5 an hour habits, and you're drowning. Does any of this sound familiar? If you're a real estate agent in America today and you just nodded your head, then this is the most important video you will watch this year. Because that feeling of being constantly overwhelmed, of being chained to the administrative minutiae of your business, is the #1 killer of growth, potential, and frankly sanity in this industry. It's the reason why the NAR reports that 87% of agents fail and quit within their first 5 years. They don't fail because they're bad at selling houses. They fail because they become full-time administrators who occasionally sell houses. They're so busy working in their business they never have time to work on their business. The solution everyone talks about, the holy grail whispered about in top producer masterminds, is hiring a virtual assistant. The magical person who will swoop in and organize your chaos, handle the paperwork, and free you up to do what you actually get paid to do. Build relationships and close deals. But here's the brutally honest truth that most gurus won't tell you. Hiring a VA can either be the single greatest accelerator your business has ever seen, catapulting you to the next level, or it can be an absolute catastrophe. A money-draining, time-sucking nightmare that leaves you more stressed and broke than when you started. There is very little middle ground. And the difference between success and failure isn't luck. It's knowledge. So, in this video we are pulling back the curtain completely. We're not just going to give you a generic list of pros and cons. We are going to arm you with a bulletproof framework to decide once and for all if a VA is the right move for you right now. We'll break down the hidden costs nobody mentions, the unexpected time investment required up front, the tasks you absolutely must delegate to survive, and the critical functions you should never, ever let go of. By the end of this presentation, you will have total clarity. You'll know if you're ready, what to expect, and how to execute the process without setting your time and money on fire. Now, before we dive into the nitty-gritty pros and cons, we have to address the two giant elephants in the room. These are the two massive mental roadblocks that stop 99% of agents from ever even considering getting help. If we don't shatter these right now, the rest of this video is useless. The first one, the big one, is the money myth. I can't afford a VA. I hear it every single day. And I want you to listen to me very closely. You are thinking about this completely backward. The truth is, you can't afford not to have one. Let's stop calling it a cost and start calling it what it is, an investment. And let's do some simple math. Let's say you're doing a task like creating social media graphics, managing your email inbox, or scheduling appointments. These are what I call $10 an hour tasks. They are necessary, but they do not generate revenue. Let's say you spend just 10 hours a week on these tasks. That's a very conservative number for most agents. Now let's say you hire a great VA for, let's be generous, $15 an hour. So you're investing $150 a week to buy back 10 hours of your time. Some of you just heard that number and your stomach tightened. $150 a week? That's $600 a month. That's my car payment. I get it. But what you're not seeing is the other side of the equation. What is an hour of your time worth when you're focused on high-value, income-producing activities? Things like lead generation, lead follow-up, going on listing appointments, negotiating contracts. These are the $500 an hour tasks. If you took those 10 hours you just bought back and dedicated them solely to calling your database, nurturing your sphere of influence, or prospecting for new clients, what would happen? Do you think you could close one extra deal? Not one a month. One extra deal per year. What's the average commission in your market? $10,000? 15? Let's say it's a conservative 10 grand. You just invested about $7,800 for the year to make an extra $10,000. That's a positive return on your investment from day one. And that's with just one extra deal. What if you close 2? Or 5? Or 10? The math becomes absolutely insane. The real cost isn't the $150 you're spending. The real cost is the thousands of dollars in commission you are losing every single month because your time is being held hostage by $10 an hour tasks. That is the opportunity cost, and it is bleeding your business dry. The second mental roadblock is the control myth. No one can do it as well as I can. This is the perfectionist agent's mantra. You've built your brand on personal touch, on attention to detail. You're terrified that if you hand over the reins to someone else, they'll drop the ball, tarnish your reputation, and everything will fall apart. You feel that you are the secret sauce of your business. And you know what? You're not wrong. Your personal touch is critical, but you are confusing being responsible for the outcome with being the one who physically does the task. The goal isn't to find someone who can do everything exactly like you. The goal is to find someone who can do a task 85% as well as you can, freeing you up to focus on the things that only you can do. Let me repeat that. An administrative task done to 85% completion by a VA is infinitely more valuable than that same task done to 100% perfection by you, if it prevents you from getting a new client. Perfection is the enemy of progress. You need to let go of the idea that you have to personally touch every single piece of your business. Top producers don't have more hours in the day. They have more leverage. They build systems, they create standard operating procedures, SOPs, and they delegate ruthlessly. They aren't cloning themselves, they're cloning their processes. They understand that their time is their most valuable and finite asset. They are not the bottleneck in their business. They are the engine. And right now, you are acting as both the engine and the bottleneck. That has to stop. So if you can get past those two hurdles, realizing that you can't afford not to have help, and accepting that done by someone else is better than not done by you, then you're ready for the real conversation. You're ready to seriously evaluate whether a VA is your next best move. Now let's break down the tangible, real-world pros of bringing a virtual assistant into your real estate business, starting with the one that goes far beyond just saving you time. It's about reclaiming your role as the CEO of your business, not its busiest, most underpaid employee. Think about it. Why did you get into real estate? Was it to spend 4 hours a day formatting email newsletters and updating your CRM? Was it to become an expert in Canva, wrestling with designs for your just listed postcards? I'm guessing not. You got into this business to connect with people, to negotiate deals, to be the trusted advisor in your community, and yes, to build a life of financial freedom. The single biggest pro of hiring a virtual assistant is that it allows you to fire yourself from all the jobs you hate, and all the jobs that don't make you money so you can focus exclusively on the ones that do. These are what we call dollar-producing activities. Things like lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and nurturing your sphere of influence. Every minute you spend on a $10 an hour administrative task is a minute you're not spending on a $500 an hour activity. Let's be brutally honest for a second. How much time did you spend last week on things that an intelligent, trained person could do for you? 5 hours? 10? 20? Imagine taking those 20 hours and dedicating them entirely to calling your past clients, having coffee with potential sellers, and previewing inventory. What would that do to your GCI over the next 12 months? It would be a game changer. A VA gives you the leverage to operate in your zone of genius. They handle the how so you can focus on the who and the what. That's not just time savings. That's a fundamental business transformation. Now, let's talk about the second and perhaps most obvious pro, the staggering cost savings. This is where the math becomes undeniable. Let's say you decide to hire a local, in-house administrative assistant in the United States. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average hourly wage for that role hovers around $20 an hour, but in many major metro areas, it's closer to $25 or even $30. Let's be conservative and say you find someone great for $25 an hour. For a full-time 40-hour-a-week employee, that's a base salary of $52,000 a year. But it doesn't stop there. Not even close. You, as the employer, are on the hook for payroll taxes, which is another 7.65%. That's nearly $4,000 right there. Then you have to pay for workers' compensation insurance, unemployment insurance, and potentially contribute to health insurance, a 401k, and paid time off if you want to be a competitive employer. Suddenly, your $52,000 employee actually costs you $65,000 or even $70,000 a year. And we haven't even talked about the overhead. You need to provide them with a desk, a computer, a phone, software licenses, and office supplies. The true, all-in cost of a single W-2 employee can be astronomical for a solo agent or a small team. Now let's compare that to a high-quality virtual assistant from a country like the Philippines, a hub for skilled, English-speaking virtual professionals. You can find exceptional, experienced real estate VAs for a rate between $8 and $12 an hour. Let's take the high end and say $12 an hour. For that same 40-hour week, you're looking at a cost of about $25,000 a year. That's it. There are no payroll taxes, no benefits to worry about, no office space, no equipment costs because they use their own. You are saving, conservatively, $40,000 to $45,000 a year per employee. That is money that goes directly back into your pocket or back into your business for marketing, better tech, or even hiring a second VA to scale even faster. The financial leverage is massive. You're not just hiring help, you're making one of the highest ROI investments possible for your business. The third huge pro, and one that gets overlooked, is access to specialized skills on demand. The old way of thinking is that a VA is just a generalist who answers emails and manages a calendar. That couldn't be further from the truth today. The virtual workforce has become incredibly specialized. You don't just hire a VA. You can hire a video editor VA who can take your raw iPhone footage and turn it into brilliant Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. You can hire a social media manager VA who lives and breathes content creation, caption writing, and engagement strategies specifically for real estate. You can hire a lead generation specialist VA who is an expert at cold calling expireds or running Facebook ad campaigns. You can hire a graphic designer VA to create all your marketing materials, or a transaction coordinator VA who is a wizard with compliance and deadlines. Think about what that means. To get that level of specialized talent with in-house employees, you'd need to hire 4 or 5 different part-time people, a logistical and financial nightmare. With VAs, you can build a virtual dream team. You could have one VA work 10 hours a week on your video editing, and another work 15 hours a week managing your CRM and lead follow-up. You get access to a multi-talented workforce for a fraction of the cost of one generalist in-house employee. It allows you to punch way above your weight class, creating a marketing and operations machine that rivals what the big teams in your market are doing, but on a solo agent's budget. This leads directly into the fourth pro: unparalleled scalability and flexibility. Real estate is a business of seasons. You have peak seasons where you're so busy you can barely breathe, and you have slower months where the market cools off. With a traditional employee, you're locked in. You're paying that $65,000 salary whether you close 10 deals that month or 0. That fixed overhead can be terrifying, and is often what keeps agents from hiring in the first place. Laying someone off is a painful, difficult process. A virtual assistant completely changes this dynamic. A VA is more like a utility than a fixed cost. Business is booming in the spring market? You can easily ask your VA to go from 20 hours a week to 40 hours a week. You can even bring on a second VA temporarily to handle the overflow. You're essentially turning a dial on your operational capacity. Then when things slow down in the winter, you can dial it back down to 15 hours a week without any difficult conversations or HR nightmares. This flexibility is a superpower. It allows you to perfectly match your expenses to your revenue, reducing risk and allowing you to scale your business intelligently and sustainably. You're not building a fragile business with massive fixed costs. You're building a lean, agile operation that can adapt to any market condition. Finally, the fifth pro is the power of relentless consistency. As an agent, you are the rainmaker. Your energy is best spent on high-level, client-facing activities. But what happens when you get busy with a few active clients? Your marketing falls off a cliff. The weekly newsletter doesn't go out. The social media posts stop. The lead nurturing sequences in your CRM grind to a halt. Then, when those deals close, you look up and realize your pipeline is empty because you stopped prospecting for 60 days. You're stuck on the brutal real estate roller coaster of being either busy with clients or busy looking for clients, but never both. A VA is the ultimate solution to this roller coaster. They are your consistency engine. They are the person who ensures that, no matter how many fires you're putting out, your marketing and operational systems are always running. Every single Tuesday, the email newsletter goes out. Every single day, 3 new posts go up on Instagram. Every single new lead gets put on the correct follow-up plan within 5 minutes. This consistency is what builds momentum. It's what creates a brand. It's what ensures you have a steady stream of opportunities, month in and month out. The VA isn't just taking tasks off your plate. They are installing systems and discipline into your business that will pay dividends for years to come. So, when you add it all up, reclaiming your time for high-value work, the incredible cost savings, access to specialized talent, the flexibility to scale, and the engine of consistency, the case for a VA seems almost too good to be true. It sounds like the perfect solution, the magic bullet we've all been looking for. But it's not. It's not all automated closings and 4-hour workweeks. There is a dark side. There are hidden landmines and critical mistakes that can turn this dream of leverage into an expensive, time-sucking nightmare. And frankly, most agents who try to hire a VA step right on them. They end up more frustrated and overwhelmed than when they started. In the next part, we're going to pull back that curtain. We are going to talk about the very real, very serious cons of hiring a virtual assistant, and I'm going to reveal the #1 mistake that causes 90% of these agent-VA relationships to crash and burn. You absolutely do not want to miss this. Alright, let's pull back the curtain. Because for every success story you hear about an agent who's built a thriving business on the back of a virtual assistant, there are a dozen untold stories of frustration, wasted money, and epic failure. This isn't about fear-mongering. It's about being brutally honest so you can make a smart decision. The first major con, the one that blindsides so many agents, is what I call the communication chasm. It sounds simple, but this is a canyon that can swallow your productivity whole. Let's start with the obvious: time zones. You're in California, your VA is in the Philippines. That's a 15-hour difference. You're just finishing your morning coffee and planning your day. Their workday is already over. You get an accepted offer at 6 p.m. on a Friday and need urgent social media graphics made for a just-sold campaign to capitalize on the buzz. You fire off an email and get crickets, because your VA is fast asleep and won't even see it until what feels like the middle of next week. That hot lead, that moment of marketing momentum, it's gone. You end up either waiting, losing the opportunity, or just doing it yourself, which defeats the entire purpose of hiring them in the first place. But the communication chasm goes so much deeper than just time. It's about culture and language. And I'm not talking about an accent. I'm talking about the subtle, nuanced, high-stakes language of American real estate. Your VA might be fluent in English, but do they understand the difference in tone between a text to a millennial first-time buyer and an email to a baby boomer looking for their retirement home? Do they understand the local slang for a neighborhood? Do they get the subtle anxieties and unspoken questions that American clients have? I saw an agent's VA send a follow-up email that said, "It was a pleasure to facilitate your property visitation." Now, technically, that's correct English. But what client talks like that? It sounds robotic, foreign, and instantly creates a disconnect. The client doesn't feel like they're being cared for by a local expert. They feel like they're being processed by a corporate call center. That small linguistic misstep can erode the trust you've worked so hard to build. You're selling a relationship, a dream, not just a house. And if your primary point of contact sounds like a badly programmed chatbot, you're in trouble. The second massive con is the hidden time and money sink. Everyone gets seduced by the low hourly rate. You see for $5, $6 an hour and you think, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to save a fortune. But the sticker price isn't the real price. First, there's the time tax of training. You cannot just hire a VA, give them your password and expect magic. You are not buying a finished product. You are starting an apprenticeship program where you are the teacher. You will need to spend dozens, if not hundreds, of hours creating systems, recording screen capture videos of every single task, writing standard operating procedures, and then conducting training and feedback sessions. If you don't have your systems dialed in, you'll be stuck in a frustrating loop of explaining the same thing over and over again. Every minute you spend training is a minute you're not selling. It's a very real upfront investment of your most valuable asset, your time. Then there are the hard costs. Your VA needs access to your tools. That's a seat for your CRM, a subscription to Canva or Adobe, access to your MLS, maybe a dialer system. These costs add up fast, and they can easily double or triple that attractive hourly rate. But the most dangerous hidden cost is the cost of a mistake. What's the cost of a VA accidentally sending a blast email with the wrong list, alienating your entire sphere of influence? What's the cost of a poorly designed flyer that makes your $1 million listing look like a cheap rental? What's the cost of them forgetting a critical date in a transaction, putting your client's earnest money at risk? One single, significant mistake born from a lack of experience or oversight can cost you a commission, a client, or even your reputation. Suddenly, that $6 an hour deal just became the most expensive hire of your life. This leads directly into the third con, the initiative gap. A virtual assistant, by and large, is a task doer. They will do what is on their checklist. They will follow your instructions to the letter. But they will not think like you. They don't have the agent brain, that's constantly scanning the horizon for opportunities and threats. They won't be lying in bed at 11 p.m. and suddenly realize a better way to market a listing. They won't hear a subtle cue in a client's voice and proactively suggest a solution. You might hire a VA to manage your social media. A general VA will post what you tell them to post when you tell them to post it. A truly great real estate assistant, on the other hand, understands the market. They see a new coffee shop opening in a neighborhood and proactively create a community spotlight post about it, tagging the business and engaging with locals. They see that interest rates just tick down and create a graphic about why now is a great time to buy. They take initiative. Most VAs, especially from overseas generalist agencies, simply don't have this industry-specific, proactive mindset. You are still the strategist, the creative director, and the quality control manager. You're not offloading the mental burden. You're just offloading the clicks. For many agents, this becomes the most exhausting part of the whole arrangement. And all of this brings us to the promise I made. The number one mistake. The single agent side error that causes 90% of these relationships to fail. It's not hiring the wrong person. It's not a lack of communication. Those are just symptoms of the real disease. The number one mistake is hiring for a task instead of an outcome, and doing it without a system. Let me repeat that. You're hiring for a task, not an outcome. Here's what that looks like. The overwhelmed agent thinks, "Ugh, I hate transaction coordination. I need to hire someone to handle my paperwork." So they write a job description for a transaction coordinator VA who knows how to use Skyslope or .loop. They've hired someone to do a task. The relationship fails within 3 months. Why? Because the agent didn't really want someone to do paperwork. What they wanted was the outcome. A stress-free, seamless closing experience for their client, 5-star reviews, and referral business. The paperwork is just one small piece of that puzzle. Does the VA know when to communicate with the lender? Do they have a system for sending weekly updates to the client so they feel informed and cared for? Do they know how to proactively solve the little title and inspection issues that always pop up? No, because they were hired to push paper. They were hired for the task. The successful agent thinks differently. They think, I need a system that creates a Ritz-Carlton closing experience for every client. They first build that system themselves. They document every step, every email template, every touch point. They create the flight plan. Then, and only then, do they hire someone to execute that pre-built system. They're not hiring a transaction coordinator. They're hiring a director of client experience who will run their proven, documented playbook. You see the difference? It's monumental. Throwing a person at a problem without a documented system is like hiring a construction worker, pointing at an empty lot, and saying, "Build me a house." You'll get a mess. You have to be the architect first. You have to provide the blueprint. If you don't have a crystal clear, step-by-step, documented process for how you generate leads, nurture clients, or manage transactions, you cannot successfully delegate it. You're just delegating chaos. And delegating chaos doesn't give you freedom. It just creates a more expensive, more stressful, and more distant form of chaos. So now you know the single biggest reason why most agents fail with VAs. They throw a person at a problem without a plan. But what does a winning plan actually look like? In the next part, we are going to break down the exact, non-negotiable systems you must have in place before you even think about writing a job post. We're talking about the foundational blueprint that separates the agents who get a 10x return on their VA from those who just get a 10x headache. So let's pull back the curtain on that 10x headache. What does it actually look like? It looks like you, at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, rewriting a social media caption for the 3rd time because the VA you hired just doesn't get your voice. It sounds like a dozen emails back and forth, clarifying a simple task that you could have done yourself in 10 minutes. It feels like that sinking pit in your stomach when you realize you're paying someone by the hour to ask you questions, effectively turning your high-leverage time into low-leverage training time, day after day. You hired help to buy back your time, but instead, you've just purchased a second, more frustrating job. Full-time micromanager. This happens because most agents do it backward. They hire the person, then try to build the process around them. That is a guaranteed recipe for failure. It's like hiring a world-class construction crew, dropping them on an empty plot of land with a pile of lumber, and saying, "Okay, build me a house." What do you think you're going to get? Chaos, wasted materials, and a structure that's about to collapse. The systems we're about to cover are the blueprint. They are the architectural plans, the electrical schematics, the plumbing layout. You must have the blueprint before the crew shows up. When you do, they don't need to ask you where every single 2x4 goes. They just build. So let's draw that blueprint. The first and most critical system, the absolute non-negotiable foundation of your entire operation, is your CRM, your customer relationship manager. And I don't mean just having one. I mean having one that is set up to be operated by someone else. It has to be your single source of truth. If a client's birthday, their dog's name, or the last time you spoke to them isn't in the CRM, it doesn't exist. Your brain is for creating, not for storing. Your VA will live and die inside your CRM. So before you hire them, you need to ask yourself, is it clean? Is it organized? More importantly, are the workflows logical? For example, when a new Zillow lead comes in, is there an automated action plan that fires? Does it automatically tag the lead as new online lead Zillow? Change their status to attempting contact? And most importantly, create a task assigned to the VA's future seat that says, call immediately 5-minute rule? If the answer is no, you're not ready. You need defined pipelines for buyers and sellers. You need tags for everything: past client, sphere of influence, A-list buyer, open house lead 123, Main Street. You need pre-written email templates and text message templates loaded in, ready to be deployed. Your VA shouldn't be guessing what to say to a new lead. They should be executing a proven pre-built plan that you created. Setting this up is your job. It's the high-level strategic work that only you, the CEO of your business, can do. Your CRM isn't just a fancy Rolodex. It is the central nervous system of your entire business, and you have to have it wired for success before you let anyone else plug into it. Okay, blueprint layer number 2, the command center. This is your project and task management system. Now you might be thinking, wait, you just said my CRM creates tasks. Yes, it does, but that's for client-specific follow-up. Call Bob, email Susan. The command center is for everything else. It's for the multi-step, repeatable processes that run your business behind the scenes. Think of tools like Asana, Trello, Monday, or even a well-organized Google Sheet. This is where you build the assembly line. Every major function in your business needs to be a project template in your command center. The most obvious one, your listing launch checklist. You should have a template with 50, 60, maybe 100 steps that need to happen every single time you take a new listing. And I mean every step. From order for sale sign installation to schedule photographer, to draft property description using the approved template, to create a property-specific flyer, to post coming soon graphic to Instagram story. Each of these tasks should be a checklist item, with a pre-assigned due date relative to the launch date, and ready to be assigned to your VA. When you get a new listing, you don't say, hey, can you get the ball rolling on 123 Main Street? No. You go into your command center, you duplicate the new listing template, you rename it 123 Main Street, you set the go-live date, and you click assign. Boom. Your VA now has a perfectly detailed step-by-step roadmap of what needs to happen, in what order and by when. They don't have to ask you what's next. The system tells them. This is how you achieve leverage. You're not just delegating a task, you're delegating an entire pre-built system. Do this for listings, for closings, for client onboarding, for everything. The third system is what I call the Library of Alexandria, your centralized knowledge base. This is the secret weapon that almost no one builds. Where do all your institutional knowledge, your scripts, your passwords, your templates, your brand assets, where does it all live? If the answer is in my head, or scattered across 50 different Google Docs with no clear naming convention, you are building a prison of your own creation. You can never truly step away because you are the only one with the keys. Your VA needs a single place to go to find the answer to almost any question they might have. This can be as simple as a meticulously organized Google Drive folder, or something more robust like Notion or a dedicated company wiki. What goes in here? Everything. Your brand guide, your exact color codes, your approved fonts, your headshots, your logos, your login credentials for the MLS, Zillow, your social media accounts, all stored securely in a password manager like LastPass, which you can give them access to. It should have all your scripts, your circle prospecting script, your FSBO script, your buyer consultation script. It should have templates for everything. Your standard offer email, your weekly seller update report, your buyer's home anniversary email. And here's the pro move. Start creating screen-recorded videos of you performing tasks. Use a free tool like Loom to record yourself doing a CMA, pulling a hot sheet from the MLS, or updating your website. Title it clearly and put it in the library. This is scalable training. Your VA can watch it 10 times if they need to. When you hire a second VA, you don't have to train them from scratch. You just point them to the library. Building this takes time up front, but it pays you back 1,000 times over. It's the ultimate act of work on your business, not just in it. Finally, the fourth system is the simplest but often the most chaotic: your communication protocol. How are you and your VA going to talk? If you don't define this, you will be drowned in a sea of notifications from every possible app. You'll get a text, then a Slack message, then an email, then a comment on an Asana card, all about the same topic. It's maddening and inefficient. You need to establish a clear communication hierarchy. For example, use a tool like Slack or Microsoft Teams for all quick, day-to-day questions and updates. This keeps communication out of your text messages, which should be reserved for clients and family. Use email for more formal, less urgent matters, or for sending information that needs to be referenced later. And use your project management tool for all communication related to a specific task. The comments should live with the task itself. And most importantly, schedule a mandatory, non-negotiable daily huddle. A 15-minute call at the start of the day. The VA reports on what they accomplished yesterday, what they're focused on today, and any roadblocks they're facing. This single meeting will eliminate dozens of random interruptions throughout your day. It forces both of you to be organized and intentional. It creates a predictable rhythm of communication. It's the pacemaker for your business. CRM, Command Center, Library, and Communication Protocol. These are the 4 pillars. They are the blueprint that turns a VA from an expense into an investment. Building them isn't the sexy part of the business, I get it. It's the foundational work that no one sees. But without it, you're not building a business. You're just building a job you can't escape from. Once you have this blueprint, and only then, are you ready to start thinking about the actual person you're going to hire and, crucially, what you're going to have them do first. And that's where the magic really begins. Identifying those first few dominoes you can hand off that will completely transform your daily life. So let's talk about those dominoes. The biggest mistake agents make, the one that causes 90% of failed VA relationships, is that they hire someone and on day one they try to hand them the entire business. They say, okay, you're here. Now manage my calendar, post to social media, handle my transaction coordination, design my flyers, and follow up with all my leads. Go! That's like trying to teach someone to swim by throwing them into the deep end of the ocean during a hurricane. It's not a system, it's sabotage. You wouldn't do it to a new in-person assistant, and you absolutely cannot do it with someone working remotely. The key isn't to delegate everything at once. It's to delegate the right thing first. To figure this out, you need to perform what I call a task triage. Grab a piece of paper or open a new document, and we're going to create 3 simple lists. This exercise alone is worth the price of admission, which for you is free. The first list is your I hate this list. Be brutally honest with yourself. What are the tasks in your business that, when they pop up on your to-do list, make you physically sigh? The ones that drain your soul. For a lot of agents, this is updating the CRM. You know you have to do it, but logging in, inputting notes, updating contact stages, it feels like digital dishwashing. Maybe for you, it's creating just sold graphics in Canva. You fumble around with fonts and photos for an hour, only to create something that looks fine. Or maybe it's combing through title reports to pull out key dates. Whatever it is, write it down. These tasks are the energy vampires of your business. Offloading even one of them doesn't just free up your time. It frees up your mental and emotional energy, which is infinitely more valuable. I had a client, a top producer named Sarah, who despised the paperwork side of transaction coordination. She loved negotiating and being with clients, but the compliance checklist gave her anxiety. The moment she delegated that to a VA, she said it felt like a 50-pound weight was lifted off her shoulders. She became a happier, more present agent overnight. That's the power of the I hate this list. The second list is your repeat and annoy list. These are the tasks that aren't necessarily hard or soul-crushing, but they are constant. They're the little 5 and 10-minute jobs that you have to do every single day or every single week, and they add up to a death by 1,000 paper cuts. Think about it. Pulling the daily hot sheet from the MLS, scheduling out your social media posts one by one, checking your Zillow inbox for new inquiries, creating a weekly market update report for your top clients. Each one is a small stone in your shoe, but by the end of the week, you've spent hours on these repetitive, low-impact activities. A VA can turn these into a system. Imagine a world where every single morning, a perfectly formatted MLS hot sheet is just waiting in your inbox. Imagine your entire week of social media being scheduled and done by Monday at 10 a.m. This is where you start to feel the compounding effect of leverage. It's like fixing a slow drip in your faucet. One drop is nothing, but over a month it's a flood of wasted time you can now reclaim. The third and final list is your "I'm bad at this" list. This requires a little humility. We agents like to think we can do it all, but the truth is, you're probably not a world-class graphic designer. You're probably not an expert video editor. You're probably not a professional copywriter. And that's okay. Your genius is in selling real estate. So what are the tasks that would elevate your brand if a true specialist, or at least someone more skilled and patient than you, were doing them? This could be editing your property tour videos into compelling Instagram reels. It could be designing a sleek, professional monthly newsletter instead of the clunky one you throw together in your email provider. It could be creating stunning, high-end listing presentations that blow sellers away. When you delegate from this list, you're not just buying back time. You're buying a skill set you don't possess. You're instantly upgrading the quality of your marketing and your brand perception. This is how you go from looking like a solo agent working from their kitchen table to looking like a polished, professional, multi-million-dollar producing brand. Okay, now you have these three lists: the tasks that drain you, the tasks that are repetitive, and the tasks you're not good at. You're probably looking at a massive list and feeling a little overwhelmed, which is normal. But now we apply the most important filter of all. For every single task on that list, I want you to ask one simple question. Is this a $20 an hour task? Or is this a $500 an hour task? Let me explain. As a real estate agent, your $500 an hour tasks are the activities that directly lead to a commission check. We call these dollar-productive activities. This is lead generation, calling your sphere, following up with online leads. It's lead conversion, going on listing appointments, holding buyer consultations, showing property. It's negotiating contracts and building relationships at a high level. These are the things that only you can do to grow your business. Everything else? All that stuff on your three lists? Updating the CRM, creating social media graphics, scheduling appointments, pulling comps, preparing paperwork. Those are $20 an hour tasks. They are essential to running the business, but they do not grow the business. And right now, you, the CEO, the $500 an hour talent, are spending a huge portion of your day doing $20 an hour work. It's the single biggest bottleneck to your growth. When you hire a virtual assistant for, say, $10, $15, or $20 an hour, you are not adding an expense. You are performing financial arbitrage on your time. You are buying a $20 an hour task for its market rate so that you can free yourself up to do more $500 an hour work. Let's do the math. Let's say you delegate 10 hours of administrative work to a VA per week at $15 an hour. That costs you $150. In those 10 hours you just bought back, if you spend just one of them on a dollar-productive activity that leads to a single closing with a $7,000 commission, you just turned a $150 investment into a $7,000 return. That's a 4,500% ROI. There is no stock, no crypto, no real estate investment on earth that can give you that kind of return. Your time is your single greatest asset, and a VA is the most effective tool to leverage it. So how do you start? You look at your lists filtered through that dollar-productive lens, and you create what I call the first week playbook. You do not just email the list to your new VA and say, "Have at it." Instead, you pick one task. Just one. Preferably, it should be something from your repeat and annoy list. Why? Because these tasks are typically simple, process-driven, and happen on a regular schedule, which makes them incredibly easy to train. For example, let's pick pull the daily MLS hot sheet. Your first assignment for yourself is to document how you do it. Don't write a novel. Just turn on a screen recorder like Loom, it's free, and record a 5-minute video of yourself doing the task. As you do it, you talk out loud. Okay, first I log into the MLS here. Then I click on Hot Sheet. I select these 3 zip codes, 90210, 90211, and 90212. I make sure the date range is the last 24 hours. Then I click Search. Once the results come up, I click Export as PDF. I name the file with today's date, and I save it in this Google Drive folder. That's it. You've just created a perfect, reusable training asset. On day 1, you send that video to your new VA and you say this: "Welcome aboard. Your first task is to do this for me every single morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Watch this video and let me know if you have any questions. Your only goal today is to master this one thing." What have you just done? You've given them a clear, simple, achievable goal. You've provided a perfect training tool. You've set them up for a quick win. When they successfully deliver that hot sheet to you on Tuesday morning, they feel confident. You feel trust. A positive feedback loop has begun. On Wednesday, once they've proven they can do it, you add the next small domino. Great job on the hot sheet. Now let's add another task. Here's a video on how I want you to check and clear out my spam email folder every afternoon. And you build one simple documented task at a time. This isn't about just delegating work. It's about methodically building a system, brick by brick, with your VA as your partner. You're not just offloading tasks. You're building an operations machine that runs itself. So let's talk about the payoff for building that machine. What are the tangible, life-changing benefits you get when you finally pull the trigger and bring a virtual assistant onto your team? This is where the magic happens. This is the pro side of the pros and cons list, and frankly, it can be so overwhelmingly positive that for many agents, it makes the decision a no-brainer. The first and most obvious pro is the monumental gift of time. But I want you to reframe how you think about this. It's not just about getting hours back. It's about fundamentally changing the economic equation of your day. Every real estate agent has the same 24 hours. The top producers aren't magical. They just understand the concept of leverage better than anyone else. They understand that not all hours are created equal. Think about it. There are $10 an hour tasks, and there are $1,000 an hour tasks in your business. A $10 an hour task is updating your CRM, formatting a newsletter, scheduling a home inspection, chasing down a signature on a document. It's necessary work, but it doesn't directly generate new business. A $1,000 an hour task is sitting across from a motivated seller at their kitchen table, negotiating a multi-million-dollar commercial lease, or leading a first-time homebuyer seminar that generates a dozen new leads. Right now, if you're like most agents, you're spending a huge chunk of your day on the $10 tasks. You're the highly paid CEO of your business, but you're spending your time acting like the intern. A virtual assistant allows you to surgically remove those low-value tasks from your schedule. If you can pay someone $10, $12, or $15 an hour to handle tasks that are bogging you down, it frees you up to spend more of your time on the activities that actually make you money. Let's do some simple math. Let's say you spend 10 hours a week on administrative work. That's creating flyers, updating Zillow, managing your calendar, preparing paperwork. That's 40 hours a month, a full work week every single month, spent on non-revenue generating activities. Now imagine you hire a VA for $10 an hour to take all of that off your plate. That costs you $400 a month. But what do you get in return? You get 40 hours back. 40 hours that you can now dedicate exclusively to lead generation, lead follow-up, and appointments. If you use those 40 hours to close just one extra deal, even a small one, you've likely paid for your VA's salary for the entire year. Anything beyond that is pure profit. You're not spending money. You're buying time at a massive discount and converting it into commission checks. But it's even bigger than that. It's not just about the business. It's about your life. It's about being able to attend your kid's soccer game without checking your phone every 5 seconds. It's about having dinner with your spouse without the weight of 100 unanswered emails on your mind. It's about being able to take a real vacation, knowing that the basic operations of your business are still running smoothly back home. That freedom, that peace of mind is priceless. You're not just buying back time to work, you're buying back your life. The second major pro is the incredible cost effectiveness. This is where a VA truly shines compared to traditional hiring. Let's say you wanted to hire a local, in-house assistant. First, you're looking at a much higher hourly wage. Then you have to add on payroll taxes, workers' compensation, health insurance benefits, paid time off. You need to provide them with office space, a computer, a phone, and all the necessary software licenses. The true cost of a full-time employee can easily be 1.5 to 2 times their base salary. A $40,000 a year assistant can easily cost you $60,000 or more. With a virtual assistant, almost all of that overhead disappears. You're typically hiring them as an independent contractor. There are no payroll taxes, no benefits, no office space. They use their own equipment. You pay a simple, flat hourly rate or a monthly retainer for the work that is actually performed. This dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for getting help. A solo agent who could never dream of affording a $60,000 a year assistant can absolutely afford a VA for 5 or 10 hours a week to get started. It allows you to get the leverage you need without taking on the massive financial risk and liability of a full-time employee. This leads directly to the third pro, which is scalability. A virtual assistant gives your business an elastic quality it didn't have before. In real estate, our workload is never consistent. It's a series of peaks and valleys. One month you might be juggling 10 closings, and the next you might be struggling to find a single new client. If you have a full-time, salaried assistant, you're paying them the same amount whether you're swamped or dead slow. Their salary becomes a fixed, heavy anchor on your finances during the lean months. With a VA, you can scale their hours up or down as needed. Heading into a busy spring market, you can ask your VA to take on 30 hours a week. Things slowing down in the winter, you can scale them back to 10 hours a week. This flexibility is a game changer. It means your expenses can shrink and grow in direct proportion to your revenue. Furthermore, as your business grows, you don't have to go through the painful process of hiring another full-time person. You can simply add another VA to your team. You can have one VA who specializes in transaction coordination, another who handles social media, and a third who does lead scrubbing and appointment setting. You can build a distributed, specialized team on demand without ever needing a physical office. This is how you go from being a solo agent doing 20 deals a year to a team leader doing 100 deals a year without losing your mind. The VA is the first, most critical step in building a scalable business model. The fourth pro is gaining access to specialized skills that you don't have and don't have time to learn. The term virtual assistant is a bit of a misnomer. It's not just about administrative tasks anymore. The VA marketplace is incredibly diverse. You can find VAs who are absolute wizards at video editing. They can take your raw iPhone footage and turn it into polished, engaging Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts that would take you hours to fumble through. You can find VAs who are experts in graphic design, creating stunning listing presentations and social media graphics that make you look like you have a massive marketing department. There are VAs who specialize in running Facebook ad campaigns, managing pay-per-click, writing blog posts, or even cold calling and appointment setting. You don't have to be the expert in everything. Your job is to be the expert in real estate. Let someone else be the expert in digital marketing. Let someone else be the expert in bookkeeping. By hiring a specialized VA, you are plugging a world-class expert into your business for a few hours a week. You get the benefit of their expertise without the six-figure salary that a local expert would command. This allows you to punch way above your weight class, competing with much larger teams and brokerages on marketing and operations, even as a solo agent. Finally, the fifth and perhaps most profound pro is the mandatory mindset shift it creates. Hiring your first VA is a rite of passage. It's the moment you stop thinking like a real estate agent and start thinking like a business owner. It forces you to stop being the bottleneck in your own business. It forces you to systemize, to document your processes, to create checklists and standard operating procedures. Why? Because you have to. You can't effectively delegate a task that only exists in your head. This process of systemization, which is prompted by the need to train your VA, is one of the most valuable business-building activities you will ever undertake. It transforms your business from a chaotic, personality-driven practice into a process-driven, scalable machine. It's the difference between having a job and owning a business. A job depends on you showing up and doing everything. A business is a system that can run, at least in part, without you. Your first VA is the first gear in that system. They force you to become a better leader, a better manager, and a true CEO. This shift in identity from doer of all things to manager of outcomes is the secret to breaking through income ceilings and building a business that serves your life, instead of a life that serves your business. But let's be brutally honest for a second. This transition from doer to manager is not a magical switch you flip. It's a rocky, treacherous path, and for many agents, hiring a virtual assistant is the first, stumbling step onto it. This is where the glossy dream of leverage meets the cold, hard reality of leadership. And this is where we have to talk about the cons. Because ignoring the dark side of delegation is the fastest way to turn a six-figure investment into a six-figure mistake. The first and most deceptive con is what I call the time suck paradox. You hire a VA to save time, right? That's the entire sales pitch. But in the beginning, you will have less time than you've ever had before. I want you to really hear me on this. The first 30, 60, even 90 days with a new VA can feel like you've taken on a second unpaid job. The job of being a trainer, a systems architect, and a micromanager. Think about it. Every single task you want to offload, from managing your CRM to posting on social media to prepping a CMA, exists in your head as a fluid, intuitive process. It's not written down. There's no manual. So now you have to stop everything, pull that process out of your brain, and translate it into a step-by-step, idiot-proof system that someone else can follow. This is excruciating work. It's creating standard operating procedures or SOPs from scratch. It's recording dozens of Loom videos, screen sharing your every click, and answering an endless barrage of questions that seem painfully obvious to you. The temptation to just grab the mouse and say, "Forget it, I'll do it myself, it's faster," will be so powerful it feels like a physical force. And most agents give in. They succumb to the "it's faster" fallacy, and their VA ends up relegated to a few minor low-impact tasks, while the agent goes right back to being the overwhelmed doer, now with the added expense of an underutilized assistant. The dream of saving 20 hours a week becomes the reality of losing 10 hours to frustrating, inefficient management. That is the time suck paradox. The second major con is the Great Wall of Communication. This is especially true if you hire an overseas VA, which is what most agents do to save money. The problem is, you're not just dealing with the time zone difference. You're often dealing with a massive cultural and linguistic gap. The language barrier isn't about basic English proficiency. Your VA might speak perfect, grammatically correct English, but do they understand the nuance? Do they understand the subtle difference in tone between "let's follow up with them" and "we need to circle back on that"? Do they understand that in American business culture, "I'll try my best" can sometimes be a polite way of saying it's not a priority? This gets even more dangerous when it comes to real estate-specific jargon. They might learn what escrow is from a textbook, but do they feel the gut-wrenching anxiety a client feels when they hear their escrow is in jeopardy? Can they write a social media caption that captures the unique pride of homeownership in a specific American suburb? Probably not. The result is communication that feels off. It's robotic. It lacks the human touch that builds trust with clients. And then there's the time zone. It sounds great to have someone working while you sleep. But what happens when a client calls you at 3 p.m. with an urgent request for a document, and the only person who knows where it is has been asleep for 5 hours? You are now stuck, unable to serve your client, looking incompetent, all because your leverage is on the other side of the planet. Communication breakdowns don't just cause delays. They erode client confidence and can directly cost you deals. This leads directly into the third con, which is the quality control nightmare. When you are the one doing everything, you have an innate subconscious quality control filter. You just know when an email sounds a little too aggressive, or when a photo on the MLS looks slightly blurry. Your VA does not have this filter. They are executing a task based on a checklist you provided. So, in the beginning, the quality of everything they touch will drop. I guarantee it. Your perfectly crafted brand voice on Instagram will suddenly start sounding like a generic corporate robot. A carefully worded email to a lead might go out with a glaring typo. A CMA might be pulled using the wrong comparable properties because they didn't understand the unwritten rules of a particular neighborhood. Every one of these small dips in quality is a paper cut to your brand's reputation. And the fear of this happening forces you into a state of hypervigilance. You start double-checking everything. You review every email before it's sent. You approve every social media post. And suddenly, you're not a CEO managing outcomes. You're a babysitter managing tasks. You've traded the stress of doing the work for the new, and arguably worse stress of worrying about someone else doing the work wrong. This is the fast lane to burnout, and it's where many agents throw in the towel, declaring that no one can do it as well as I can, without realizing they were the ones who failed to create a system for success. Finally, we have to talk about the most terrifying con of all, the wrong hire apocalypse. All the problems we've just discussed, the time suck, the communication gaps, the quality issues, are 10 times worse if you hire the wrong person. A bad hire is not just a neutral event. It is a destructive force in your business. It's not just the money you pay them in salary. It's the money you lose from the deals they screw up. It's the cost of the software you bought for them. It's the immeasurable cost of your own time, hundreds of hours spent recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, and training someone who was never going to work out in the first place. And when the time comes to finally let them go, you're not back at square one. You are at square -10. Your systems are a mess, your morale is shot, you're out thousands of dollars, and you're more behind on your work than you were before you started. The emotional toll is brutal. It makes you feel like a failure as a leader. It creates a deep-seated fear of ever trying to hire again, trapping you in the solo agent grind forever. I've seen agents take years to recover their confidence after a truly catastrophic mishire. It's like a bomb going off in the center of your business, and you're left to pick up the pieces alone. So, when you lay it all out, it sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? A massive upfront time investment, constant communication struggles, a drop in quality that could damage your brand, and the ever-present risk of hiring someone who actively harms your business. It's enough to make anyone say, "You know what, being a burnt-out solo agent doesn't sound so bad after all." These challenges are not just possibilities. For the unprepared agent, they are probabilities. They are the hidden landmines that blow up the dreams of leverage and freedom. But what if I told you that every single one of these cons is avoidable? What if each landmine has a map that shows you exactly where not to step? What if the difference between a VA who drains your bank account and one who doubles your income has nothing to do with the assistant themselves, and everything to do with a three-part system you implement before you even write the job post? These cons are very real, but they are not a verdict. They are a warning. And for those who heed it, the path to true cell-level freedom is still very much open. And that path begins not on a job board, not with an interview, but with a mirror. Begins with you. The single biggest reason agents fail with VAs is because they try to hire someone to fix a business they don't understand themselves. They're trying to hire a manager when they haven't even been a good employee. They're asking someone to organize a mess they haven't even tried to untangle. This three-part system I'm about to share with you isn't about hiring. It's about becoming hireable. It's about transforming your chaotic solo operation into a streamlined, delegation-ready business. This is the work you do before you ever spend a dime on a virtual assistant. The first part of the system is what I call the clarity audit. This is you, a spreadsheet, and a brutally honest look at your business. For the next 7 days, 14 if you're brave, you are going to track every single thing you do. And I mean everything. From the 15 minutes you spent scrolling Zillow for comps, that was really just real estate porn, to the 45 minutes you spent wrestling with Canva to make a social media post, to the 2 hours you spent on a client call. Every task, every interruption, every minute. At the end of the week, you're not just going to have a time log. You're going to have a data-backed diagnosis of your business. Now, you take that list of tasks and you run it through the dollar per hour matrix. You categorize every single activity into one of two buckets. Is this a $10 an hour task? Or is this a $1,000 an hour task? A $10 task is anything that is repetitive, administrative, or doesn't directly require your unique real estate license and expertise. Things like uploading listings to the MLS, scheduling appointments, creating social media graphics, updating your CRM, and chasing down signatures. A $1,000 an hour task is anything that makes you money. Lead generation, lead conversion, negotiating contracts, holding strategic client meetings, and building relationships with referral partners. When you do this, a terrifying and beautiful truth will emerge. Most agents discover they are spending 80% of their time on $10 tasks, hoping for a $1,000 an hour income. It's like trying to build a skyscraper with a plastic shovel. It's insanity. Your first step towards freedom is identifying your first 5 to delegate. Look at your list of $10 tasks and circle the top 5 that are eating the most hours from your week. This list, this very specific data-driven list, becomes the foundation of your VA's initial job description. You're not hiring someone to help with marketing. You're hiring someone to spend 10 hours a week creating and scheduling 20 social media posts in Canva, 5 hours a week updating client contact information in your CRM, and 3 hours a week managing your calendar. See the difference? One is a vague hope. The other is a precise, surgical strike against the parts of your business that are holding you hostage. That's step 1. Step 2 is building the system sanctuary. A sanctuary is a place of refuge and safety. That's what your systems need to be for your new VA. It's the place they can go to find the answer to any question without having to ask you. Because if your VA has to constantly ask you, "How do I do this?" or "Where do I find that?" you haven't hired an assistant, you've hired a dependent. You've just traded one set of tasks for another. The cornerstone of your sanctuary is the SOP, the standard operating procedure. This sounds corporate and intimidating, but it's not. Here's the simple rule. If you have to do a task more than twice, the third time you do it, you record yourself doing it. Use a free tool like Loom. You turn on screen recording, you talk through the process out loud as you do it, and in 5 minutes you've created a perfect evergreen training video. Here's how I upload a new listing to the MLS. Here's how I create a new contact in our CRM. Here's how I draft a just listed email. You create a library of these video SOPs. This is non-negotiable. It's the single greatest asset you can build in your business because it makes your knowledge transferable. Next, you must create a single source of truth. This is one central place where everything lives. It could be Notion, Asana, or even just a meticulously organized Google Drive folder. This is where your SOPs live, where your brand assets are, where your templates, scripts, and client files are stored. When a VA asks, "Where's the logo file?" The answer is always the same. Check the single source of truth. This forces you to get organized in a way you probably never have been before. It forces you to clean up your digital garage. Remember, you cannot add a person to a broken process and expect it to get fixed. You'll just have a more expensive broken process. A VA is an amplifier. They will amplify your existing systems for better or for worse. If your systems are chaos, they will amplify that chaos. If they are organized, they will amplify that organization. The third and final part of this pre-hiring system is the culture compass. This is about defining the rules of the game and what winning looks like before anyone even starts playing. This is where most agents drop the ball. They focus entirely on the what, the tasks, and spend zero time on the how, the culture, and the expectations. First, define your communication cadence. How will you and your VA actually work together? Will you have a 15-minute daily huddle on Zoom to set priorities? A weekly one-on-one to review progress? What is the protocol for urgent questions? Do they text you? Slack you? Send an email with urgent in the subject line? What's the expected response time? Laying out these rules of engagement from day one eliminates 90% of the friction and frustration that arises in a remote working relationship. It replaces anxiety with clarity. Second, you need to establish your core values litmus test. I know, core values sounds like something on a motivational poster in a sterile corporate office. But for a solo agent, it's simpler and more powerful. What are the 2 or 3 non-negotiable principles for how you operate? Maybe it's extreme ownership. We don't make excuses, we solve problems. Maybe it's fanatical follow-up. No lead ever goes cold. Maybe it's details matter. We double-check everything because our clients depend on it. Write these down. These values become your most powerful hiring filter. During an interview, you can ask questions like, "Tell me about a time you made a mistake. What did you do?" Their answer will tell you everything you need to know about whether they believe in extreme ownership. You can teach someone how to use your CRM. You cannot teach them to have a relentless work ethic or a fanatical commitment to quality. You hire for character, you train for skill. Finally, you must create a scorecard, not a job description. A job description lists activities. A scorecard defines outcomes. A job description says, post on social media. A scorecard says, the primary mission of this role is to increase our organic lead generation from Instagram. Success in the first 90 days looks like increasing our follower count by 10% and generating 5 qualified buyer inquiries directly from Instagram DMs. This is a game changer. It shifts the entire conversation from "Did you do the busy work I told you to do?" to "Are we achieving the result we agreed upon?" It empowers your VA to think like an owner, to be proactive, and to focus on the metric that actually matters. It gives them a clear target to aim for, and it gives you a clear, objective way to measure their performance. This 3-part system, the clarity audit, the system sanctuary, and the culture compass, is the foundation. It's the unsexy behind-the-scenes work that separates the agents who get crushed by the cons from those who unlock the pros. It transforms you from a frantic, overworked agent into a calm, collected CEO. And once you've done this work, once you have this foundation in place, you're not just ready to hire a VA. You're ready to lead them. You're ready to build a team. And the process of actually finding that perfect person, that's a whole other science. It's a science of human behavior, of marketing, and of systemization. Most agents get this completely wrong. They throw up a generic job post on a random website, hire the cheapest person who replies first, and then wonder why they're spending more time managing their assistant than doing what they're good at. That's not leverage. That's a new, lower-paying job for you. We're going to do this the right way. We're going to find you a partner in growth, not just a pair of hands. First, where do we even look? The digital world is a vast ocean of talent, but you need to know which fishing spots are best. You have 3 primary options. First, the big freelance marketplaces like Upwork and Fiverr. These are great for short-term, project-based tasks. Need a one-off logo design or a quick video edited? Perfect. But for a long-term, integrated team member, it can be a race to the bottom. You're competing with a global talent pool. And while that can mean lower prices, it often means you're sifting through hundreds of low-quality applicants to find one gem. It's possible, but it's a numbers game. Second, you have specialized platforms, with the most famous for VAs being onlinejobs.ph, which focuses exclusively on talent from the Philippines. This is a game changer for many entrepreneurs. Why? Because you're often hiring for a full-time, dedicated role. The talent pool is deep, the work ethic is legendary, And the cost of living difference means a salary that is life-changing for them can be incredibly affordable for your business. You can find highly skilled, loyal, long-term team members here. The key is understanding and respecting the culture, which is something we'll touch on. Third, you have the full-service VA agencies. These companies do all the heavy lifting for you. They recruit, vet, train, and manage the VAs. You just tell them what you need, and they provide a pre-screened candidate. The massive upside is speed and convenience. The downside, cost and control. You'll pay a significant premium for this service, sometimes double or triple what you'd pay by hiring direct. And often, the VA is an employee of the agency, not of your company, which can create a slight disconnect. It's a great option if you have more money than time and want to de-risk the process entirely. But no matter where you look, your success hinges on the next step, which is arguably the most important piece of the entire hiring puzzle: your job post. A job post is not a boring list of duties. It is a sales letter. You are selling the best candidates on the planet on the opportunity to join your mission. A players have options. They are not desperately looking for any job. They are looking for the right job. Your post needs to scream, "This is it." So, how do you write a post that attracts superstars? You start with a magnetic headline. Instead of "virtual assistant needed," try something like "rockstar executive assistant for top producing real estate team," or "detail-oriented operations manager, remote, wanted to help us dominate the market." See the difference? One is a plea, the other is a call to action for high achievers. Next, you sell your vision. Before you list a single task, talk about your company. What's your mission? What are your core values? Where are you going in the next 5 years? Paint a picture of the future and invite them to be a part of building it. A players aren't motivated by just a paycheck. They're motivated by purpose and growth. Show them you offer both. Then, you define the role with surgical precision. This is where your work from the last section pays off. Don't say "manage social media." Say, "execute our content calendar by creating 5 Canva graphics and 3 short-form videos per week, writing all captions using our brand voice guide, and engaging with every comment within 3 hours." Don't say, "help with transaction coordination." Say, "manage our transaction pipeline from contract to close in our CRM, ensuring all deadlines are met, all documents are filed correctly, and communication is sent to clients at every milestone using our pre-written templates." The more specific you are, the more you'll attract people who genuinely have those skills and enjoy that type of work. After you've detailed the responsibilities, describe the person, not just their resume. Use phrases like, "You are a systems thinker who loves checklists and finds joy in creating order out of chaos. You are a proactive communicator who never lets things fall through the cracks. You thrive on feedback and are obsessed with personal and professional growth." This helps candidates self-select. The right person will read this and think, "That's me." The wrong person will be intimidated and move on. That's exactly what you want. And now for the secret weapon, the single most effective tactic for filtering candidates. Buried somewhere in the middle of your detailed job post, you will include a simple, specific instruction. Something like, "To be considered for this role, please start your application with the phrase, 'I am your next operations superstar.'" Or, in your cover letter, "Please tell me your favorite book and why." What does this do? It immediately filters out the 90% of applicants who are just spamming their resume to every job opening without even reading the description. The people who don't follow that one simple instruction? Delete. Immediately. You've just saved yourself dozens of hours. Now your applications are rolling in, and you're only looking at the ones who follow directions. The next phase is the funnel. You start with maybe 50 qualified applicants. Your goal is to narrow that down to the one perfect hire. Your first pass is a quick review of their cover letter and resume. Are they customized? Do they speak directly to the points in your job post? Or are they generic? Look for attention to detail. Typos and grammar mistakes are major red flags for an administrative or operational role. You can likely narrow your list down to 10 to 15 top candidates from this step. The next step is the most critical, the test project. Never ever hire a VA based on an interview alone. People can be great at talking. You need to know if they can actually do the work. Create a small, paid task that directly simulates a key part of the job. If you're hiring a social media VA, give them a link to one of your listings and ask them to write 3 Instagram captions for it. If you're hiring a TC, give them a mock contract and ask them to outline the key dates. If you're hiring an executive assistant, Ask them to research 3 potential CRM options and present the pros and cons in a simple document. Pay them for their time, maybe an hour or 2 of their stated rate. This shows you value their work and it professionalizes the process. This test project tells you everything the interview won't. It tests their technical skills, their ability to follow instructions, their creativity, their communication style, and their turnaround time. Some candidates will disappear at this stage. Good. They weren't serious. Others will do a mediocre job. Pass. But a few will blow you away. They'll deliver more than you asked for, faster than you expected, and with a level of professionalism that makes you sit up straight. These are your finalists. These are the 2 to 3 people you get on a video call with. The video interview is not about skills anymore. The test project already proved their skills. The interview is about one thing: fit. It's about energy, attitude, and alignment. Don't ask boring questions like, "What are your strengths and weaknesses?" Use behavioral questions that force them to tell you a story. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult client or colleague. How did you handle it? Describe a complex project you managed. What was your process for keeping it organized? Tell me about a mistake you made at a past job and what you learned from it. Listen to how they answer. Are they blaming others, or do they take ownership? Are they proactive problem solvers, or do they wait to be told what to do? Are they excited about the vision you laid out in the job post? And ask them what their goals are. Where do they want to be in 5 years? An A player has ambition. They want to grow with you. You're looking for a partner, remember? Someone whose success is tied to your success. Finally, after the interview, check their references. Don't skip this step. A quick 15-minute call with a former boss can be incredibly revealing. Ask questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate their attention to detail? And then the most important follow-up. Why did you give them that score? By following this process, this science, you move from hoping you find someone good to engineering a situation where you can't help but find someone great. You've attracted the best with a killer ad, filtered out the noise with a secret instruction, proven their skills with a test project, and confirmed their fit with a behavioral interview. Now you're not just making a hire, you're making a strategic investment in the future of your business. You've found your person, and making the offer and setting them up for success from day one. That's the final piece of the puzzle. So you've found your rock star. Now let's talk about the offer. This isn't just an email with a number in it. This is your first official act as a leader. Your offer letter should be professional, clear, and welcoming. It needs to lay out the compensation, the expected hours, the key responsibilities we hammered out earlier, and a proposed start date. But it should also convey excitement. A simple line like, "We were incredibly impressed with your skills and are thrilled at the prospect of you joining our team," can make all the difference. This sets the tone that they are joining a team, a mission, not just clocking in for a job. Be prepared for a little negotiation. If you found the right person, a small bump in pay is a tiny price for the massive value they'll bring. Don't lose an A player over $1 an hour. Once they accept, the real work begins. And I'm not talking about their work. I'm talking about yours. The period between acceptance and their first day is a golden opportunity that 99% of agents waste. This is your chance to eliminate buyer's remorse and make them feel like part of the team before they've even logged in. Send a welcome package. It doesn't have to be extravagant. A handwritten note, a company mug, a book on productivity you love, something tangible that says, "We're excited for you to start." Grant them access to their new email address and a few key systems a couple of days early. Send them your company handbook, your brand guide, and links to your social media. The key here is to frame it as, "Here's some material you can look over if you like before you start." No pressure. You're not asking them to work for free. You're inviting them into their new world. This single step transforms their first day from a chaotic scramble for passwords into a smooth, confident start. Day one is not about throwing them into the deep end. It is about connection and orientation. Their first day should be meticulously planned. A welcome call with you and any other team members is non-negotiable. Walk them through the communication plan, how to use Slack or your project management tool, when to email and when to call. Give them a day one checklist with simple, achievable tasks. Set up your email signature, review the training videos for the CRM, successfully log into the MLS. The goal of day one is a win. You want them to log off feeling successful, welcomed, and clear on what tomorrow looks like. Now let's zoom out. The first 90 days will make or break this relationship. You need a plan. A 30-60-90-day plan is your roadmap to success. The first 30 days are all about training and integration. The theme is, learn the fundamentals. They should be focused on mastering your core systems and processes, your CRM, your transaction management software, your social media scheduler. They should be shadowing you, learning your voice, and understanding the rhythm of your business. Your job is to provide resources, be available for questions, and conduct daily check-ins. These aren't long meetings, a 10-minute call at the start or end of the day to ask, what did you work on, where are you stuck, and what do you need from me? This builds trust and nips problems in the bud before they grow. By day 30, your VA should be able to handle their core, repetitive tasks with minimal supervision. They're not a strategic partner yet, they're a proficient technician, and that is a huge win. Days 31 to 60 are about transition and ownership. The theme is contribution. They understand the how, and now they're starting to understand the why. You can begin delegating multi-step projects instead of just single tasks. Instead of saying, post this on Instagram, you can say, create and schedule all social media content for next week based on our content pillars. You should be reducing your daily check-ins to maybe a few times a week, encouraging them to solve small problems on their own before coming to you. This is also when you start asking for their feedback. Is there a way we could make this listing input process more efficient? This shows you value their perspective and are thinking of them as a partner, not just a subordinate. By day 60, they should be a seamless part of your operation, taking full ownership of their role and freeing up significant chunks of your time. Days 61 to 90 are about integration and proactivity. The theme is initiative. Your VA is no longer just executing tasks. They are managing entire areas of your business. They're not just scheduling social media. They're analyzing the metrics and suggesting a new content strategy. They're not just processing paperwork. They're creating a new checklist to ensure compliance is perfect every time. They are anticipating your needs. They're the ones reminding you about a client's birthday. They are bringing you solutions, not problems. This is the promised land. By day 90, if you've done your job as a leader, you should be looking at your VA and thinking, how did I ever function without this person? You're no longer just delegating, you're collaborating. So, after all this, the soul searching, the system building, the hiring, the onboarding, we finally come back to the big question. The one in the title of this video. Is a real estate virtual assistant worth it? The answer is an unequivocal, resounding, it depends. It's not the answer you want, but it's the answer you need. Because a VA is not a magic pill. A VA is an amplifier. If your business is built on a foundation of chaos, no systems, no clear goals, no leadership, a VA will only amplify that chaos. You'll have two people running in circles instead of one. You'll spend more time managing their confusion than you'll save by delegating tasks. In that case, no, a VA is not worth it. It's a waste of money. But if you've done the work, if you've taken the time to document your processes, to define your culture, to get clear on what you want to achieve, if you are ready to step up and be a leader, not just a boss, if you are willing to invest the time to train, to trust, and to empower someone else to succeed, then a VA is not just worth it. It is the single greatest investment you can make in your business and your life. The return on investment isn't just about the numbers, though the numbers are staggering. Think about it. Let's say you pay a great VA $15 an hour. They take 10 hours of administrative work off your plate each week. That's $150. If your time, focused on productive activities like lead generation and negotiation, is worth $100 an hour, you've just traded $150 for $1,000 worth of your own time. That's a 6x ROI right out of the gate. What if that extra time allows you to nurture one more lead that turns into a closing? That one commission just paid your VA's salary for months, maybe even the entire year. But the real ROI, the one that changes everything, is qualitative. It's the feeling of leaving the office at 5 p.m. knowing everything is handled. It's taking a real vacation, completely unplugged, because you have a trusted partner running the ship back home. It's the mental clarity you get when your brain isn't cluttered with 100 tiny to-do list items. It's the freedom to finally work on your business, not just eye in it. You can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on getting your life back. Hiring a VA is a line in the sand. It's the moment you decide to stop being a real estate agent and start being a real estate CEO. You stop being the bottleneck and start building a business that can scale beyond your own two hands. They are the first step to building a team, a brand, a legacy. So, is it worth it? It's worth it if you're ready to grow. It's worth it if you're tired of the plateau. It's worth it if you believe that your time is better spent building relationships with clients than wrestling with paperwork. The person you are today, buried in tasks you hate, is not the person you have to be tomorrow. The choice to change that begins with a single decision: the decision to get help, the decision to lead, the decision to build something bigger than yourself. Your empire is waiting. Are you ready to build it?